It gets rooted in you way earlier. And I don't care if you got drugged to church or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The way I was learned to prove that I was worthy of love and people wanted to have me around, I learned when I was about 7 years old. If I can help you, I have worth. And that's not what the Bible says about me.
No. And you can memorize the verses.
Yeah, that's first SJ,
you can memorize
5,
all the verses, but
3.
it does not overcome the experiential reality. That's why we are such proponents on experiencing the love of God.
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoe's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful ends for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more.
Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson hanging out with S.J. Jennings, and we exploring the kingdom together.
Yeah.
In the middle of a series on this phrase that we have used in Heart of a Warrior and now King Me, and really all of Zoe when we're talking about the masculine journey and image bearing. What does it look like to walk with God in a life and in a way that is aspiring to look more and more like Jesus, and become like Him. The image that we bear as we are image bearers, and that's where this phrase came up. You'd be a man with nothing to hide, nothing to prove, and nothing to fear. And we've put it on some T-shirts. We've definitely put it on some journals. We've put it on some different things because it's been this catchphrase for a lot of men over the last decade or so, who it strikes a chord. And so we did a kind of a preliminary exploration of that, and now we're kind of breaking down each one of these, like last week, something to hide, and this week, something to prove, which I think we have our graphic. So Andy will put the graphic up right now, and that will be good. But you can see each one of these circles has hide, prove, and fear. And in the middle of them where they all intersect, because they all seem to touch, right, SJ? They all seem to, it's like, it's not just one. They all work together.
One of the challenges of these episodes was separating them out and without talking about the other.
I'm aware of it, even when I was describing in the last episode, trying out, hiding from that, but then also proving that I belong up there, prove that you made a good choice, prove that, I'm your guy.
Right.
So, which we'll get into some more in a minute. So I think that, as we get the diagram going, these are just very, very main ingredients to the false self. And that's why that FS is in the middle, because these things have a way of supporting the false self, and the false self has a way of supporting these things: hiding, proving, and fearing. So, that's my intro.
Well, I want to follow up from a story I shared in the last episode and just tell you that during the break, we recorded these episodes back to back, by the way. That's why we're wearing the same shirts. But during the break, I think God had made a little bit of that story of not having a bedroom clearer to me. What was I hiding? I was hiding how I really felt. Because, my parents couldn't afford a bigger house or to move or to all that was involved in that just for me for a couple of years before I was going to take off anyway. And so, I can rationalize it and see the logic behind it, but I was really hiding. I never told them or expressed to them how that made me feel.
Yeah. That's a whole other incredible lane to go down. As you say it hits me with a wave of, I got stories about that. Hiding the way I really feel. Hiding the desire to be known and to tell, but believing deeply that there's no way I can trust that or entrust that to people who have proven. You know, we're talking about high school and middle school. I mean, you got to be careful who you tell anything to. Mm-hmm. You know, if anybody finds out how you feel or what you think. I mean, these are the films that we see, you know, through the 80s. Those were all the films of high school and
absolutely
and college stories. You know,
that's the core message behind
John
it, right?
Hughes. That's who I was thinking
John
of.
Hughes.
The John Hughes
man.
films.
Breakfast Club and all of that.
Pretty in Pink and all that.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's a.
But hiding how I feel, that's really good.
And you're hiding too because you don't want to. You maybe feel shame associated with your circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want make my parents feel bad about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell my best friend about it because then he may make fun of me for my parents can't afford a bigger house. I mean, you're just alone, bro.
Yeah.
It's another way that message of I'm on my own gets cemented.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting reset over and over again.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think of Scar and Simba, run away.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you did this, to have things pinned on you falsely like that, or, man, to have accidents happen that are beyond your control and have that somehow linked to your incapacities.
Man, I told you I broke my leg, but shattered my ankle. Mm-hmm. I think I was 14, 15 years old, sophomore year. And I was in a cast for like 3.5 months.
Yeah. And
kids started making fun of me, like, what are you, milking the system? You want people to feel sorry for you? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to hit you in the mouth with this crutch.
If I can catch you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to do was be hobbling around on a cast.
Oh, and at 7th or 8th grade? No way.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we're going to dive in this episode to proving,
dirty, rotten.
Which I have stories as well that I don't even like that I have as many stories as I do, not just hiding, but now proving. So we'll be right back on the Exploring More podcast, talking about something to prove and how do you get free from that. We'll be right back.
I'm Edwin Snell. I'm from near Athens, Georgia, and was talking to some folks about the podcast and what they mean to me. And I guess the best answer to that is I wouldn't be here without the podcast, because a few years ago I was searching the internet, somehow came across a podcast with these two guys, and they were talking about men, and they were talking about isolation and how we men tend to live as loners, and we don't, I think one of the questions they asked was, how many friends do you have? Count. And so I realized that they were talking about me. And so found out they were having an event a few days later. And anyway, long story short, it's been coming to these events now for years, but what started it all for me was a podcast. And to this day, those podcasts mean a lot to me because I enjoy watching SJ and Michael and just the whole relationship that they have, but the subjects that they talk about are ones that, as a man, mean something to me. So check them out. I think you'll enjoy them. I have.
Every great adventure starts with preparation, a place to gather, rest, and equip ourselves for the journey ahead. In the same way, Zoe's Base Camp is here for you, an online resource library created to encourage and strengthen Zoe allies on the road to deeper connection, healing, and restoration. A base camp is a staging ground, a place to prepare for the next leg of your expedition. At Zoe, Base Camp is a resource library designed to help you and our allies gear up for the journey of the heart. It is packed with devotionals, discussion guides, and podcasts to help you deepen your relationship with God and one another. When you visit Basecamp, you'll find a growing collection of resources, each crafted to guide you and the men in your circles on your walk with God. Each series that you find below includes a devotion plan with supplemental video content from the Explore More podcast. The devotionals are designed for both personal reflection and small group discussions, helping you dig deeper into God's truth while building meaningful relationships. On the Basecamp website, you will see the various series that we have available. When you click on a series, you'll have the opportunity to download the PDF devotion plan and the discussion guide questions. This also includes an invitation to reflect in time alone with God. Share the plan with your small group and send out the podcast videos for members to watch on their own time. Then, when you gather, dive into conversations about what God is revealing to each of you. Basecamp is more than a resource library. It's a tool for building redemptive brotherhood on the road to experiencing more life, more love, and freedom with God. Start your journey today, explore Basecamp, and reach out to us at allies@zoe.org if you have any further questions.
Welcome back to the Exploring More podcast, and our friend Edwin Snell.
A great dude.
He's a great dude, man.
Yeah, really enjoy being around him. I love the story too. He found the podcast, and then if I'm remembering correctly, he was trying to decide whether or not to come to the Encounter weekend because we had talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, it was just days away, I think he said. Yeah,
and then he's kind of ruminating on it or whatever, and was out and about somewhere and turned on the radio, and Desperado of the Eagles came on.
I remember this story.
Yeah, man.
He thinks it was. He believes deeply.
Come down from your fences and open the gate. I mean, like the
lyrics were his answer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Should I go?
He shows up at the weekend and he's telling that story, and he can't not be crying while he's talking about it. Like, can God speak to you through a Eagles song? We sure can.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And yeah, bro, he's setting up, is setting up and open for business with an outpost. He's not far from Augusta, which we just had the Masters.
Yeah.
He's out.
Congratulations, Rory.
Yeah.
Hashtag Rory McIlroy.
So, bro, let's swing into
talk about having to prove.
Oh.
Did you see the relief when he won finally in the challenge hole? The guy collapsed.
Oh yeah, and was convulsing. With I think the emotional weight of it all.
Gosh.
And yeah, it was authentic, I think, and real, and everybody was moved by it. But I think he said something in one interview about the 10 years of wondering if it was going to be his time, wondering if he would ever, that's professional sports. That's and I would just say, okay, just keep that. That's college sports. That's high school sports. That's middle school sports. That's
the playground.
That's AAU baseball. That's travel soccer.
Sure.
There is something in this life outside the garden where Chariots of Fire, Abrams, I have 10 seconds to prove my existence. I think that's the quote. I think it's existence.
Yeah.
Probably ought to let that just hang for a second. So this one, I think it just snuggles right up to this deep need we have to be seen and validated and initiated and wanted, picked, chosen. These things that Scripture talk about. Invited. These things that Scriptures talk about, but when we have given all these report cards, these blank report cards out to, not only the dozens of people we do know, but, today even the thousands of people who have a thumb, and can somehow, some way make cast their vote.
Mm-hmm.
Cast their vote. And it's powerful, man. It's a powerful, I was going to say drug, it is. It's
intoxicating.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it is because, having been around the recovery community, you'd be shocked at what people will do to get that high,
mm-hmm.
whether it's from drugs or alcohol or whatever. If you go on the internet, you will see what people will do to get the high of affirmation.
Mm.
That there is some crazy crap out there that people do, man.
Yeah.
And stuff goes viral and you're like, is that guy okay? Like, did she really fall off of that thing? I mean, or they'll figure out some crazy dance and this and that. So, it used to kind of be put up a picture of a sunset and get a bunch of thumbs up or whatever. And now you got to be like hang gliding through the picture of doing something insane.
Or just catching your dog do something crazy.
I'm telling you,
whatever,
it's, but and that's one thing, okay, great. I am definitely, that's my algorithm on Instagram is filled with dogs. Tell your dog I said hi, by the way.
Yeah.
But the things the links that people will go to prove that they're worthy of affirmation, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet, or in addition to,
it's insane in the
not,
sense of I can't believe they're going that far to get the.
And yet,
likes.
It's what we're made for.
Yeah.
Relationship, connection, and what we're talking about is the hoops that creates, the gauntlet
mm-hmm.
that somehow makes that we must go through. I mean, you think about, so this is so in the air and so in the water. I'm just saying that I guess what the level of sickness in regards to this is one thing,
mm-hmm.
but the reality that everybody is sick to some degree with this is I'm going to say casualties are 100%.
Yeah, 100% affliction rate.
Yeah.
Just
and
varying degrees.
Yeah, varying degrees. And some of them, the crazy thing about, the hardest part about some of this is you get awards and you get recognition. So you think about all the awards.
Or you get money.
All the awards programs,
mm-hmm.
all the acknowledgement, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the playoffs, all the talk. I mean, whether it was the Masters or the baseball coming season, the NBA playoffs that are now here, the football off season. I mean, it is just an ongoing dialogue
mm-hmm.
by a lot of people in different arenas and spaces who, I guess, get paid for their subjective comments and commentary. The NCAA tournament, that we watched. I mean, there's
Florida,
no doubt
saw that coming.
It's some wild and on occasion some beautiful drama that you see kind of come through this. And yet the plague, like you said, the plague of it is unescapable until you find some relationship that it is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Time out. There's a relationship that you can have that is absolutely irrelevant for you proving or earning, making a way?
Well, it's the setup is not lost on me that, it's Holy Week.
Yeah, okay.
It's Monday after Palm Sunday when we're recording this. And you think about the crucifixion of Jesus, and who was right there next to him? A thief who had done no good thing.
Right. Yeah. One of the greatest dilemmas within all theology, frankly. And how far? And here's the deal. And we're not going to talk about it too much right now. But how far does that go?
Right.
How far does the love of God go? And so, it goes. Let me answer my own question. I think it goes as deep and as far as this particular sinister ingredient takes a person. And you mentioned the addiction community and being subject to some habit, some level. I mean, this is in all of these hard, even horrible stories, and the inability to cope, the over ability to celebrate. I mean, there is just something really, really toxic about proving your worth, proving you have what it takes, proving you're worth somebody's time, and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, so I know enough of your story to know.
Uh-oh, I feel a question coming on.
Yeah, here it comes. So that you can pretty easily, and I think any of us that have done this work probably could, but I'm going to ask you the question. When you think about how, in particular, you were trained to prove your value, what is the shame associated with and connected to that?
Yeah. I have, ironically, I have a story similar to Michael Jordan's. I didn't become Michael Jordan to that degree, but I had a negative, bad experience in tryouts and stuff as a seventh grader, which I've talked about before. Well, the shame of all of that is, and the humiliation, and I mean literally crying, walking off of the court. And I was scooped up by, oh man, I almost thought of his name. That's how fast, that's how, I haven't thought, I'll think of it. But this seventh grade coach who was coaching the B team, now I'm on the B team. And and having a similar experience in baseball, kind of a bad news bears. We moved in the middle of sixth grade, seventh grade, right in that. And so we weren't established in that community in Oklahoma where we were in Seattle. My dad coached our young teams and all that. So there was a lostness for him, for me, and having to establish, honestly, SJ, having to reestablish in a new, world of sixth and seventh grade boys that I had to prove that, I was on these teams, but when they give you 5 pitches and 5 fly balls, and there's 30 of you trying to make a team that none of us made, none of us.
Yeah.
They just had to have tryouts. You look back at that and go, well, that's screwed up. But I didn't know that my dad went behind the wall of it all, the commissioner in the league, and started a new team. It dawned on me about halfway through the season, wait, these are all the same guys that didn't make this team.
Hang on a second.
My dad made a team.
Yeah.
And so, that has all the makings, right, of the bad news bears. Like, really. He took all the kids that, I'll take them, so they can play. So anyway, it sounds a lot like the Bad News Bears. So I went from Jordan to the Bad News Bears. But man, that, sports, as much as it gets billions of dollars and all our views and attention. I mean, I was listening to the Masters, watching that last hour and a half or so, and just the announcers thought the whole world was watching, like the whole world.
Until you texted, I forgot. I forgot it was on this weekend.
And that's okay, but he just would say things like that, and I was aware. I don't think the whole world's watching. I know I'm watching, but but it is the consummation, of the best golfers in the world and the hardest course in the world, and there was one guy that won, barely, and a bunch of guys that you could say lost. I mean, literally lost it on the back nine. So if that is just even a fraction of what 6th and 7th grade boys are seeing and seeing value, that's why I'm saying the subtlety of this ingredient of something to prove. We learn early when grades matter, batting averages matter, how fast you can do it,
tryouts,
all of that,
getting picked,
all of that, and I'm not saying there's not tryouts anymore, but it's not in school as much anymore. Now it's all these travel. I mean, our friend Josh, his boys have got trying out for Cooperstown, trying out
Craig with the kids
with
hockey.
The kids hockey.
Same.
And so
and it's not all sports related
either.
But I will say it's interesting to me that you got sent down to the B team, and something inside you I will never not be picked again.
Yeah, right.
And became.
Thank you for bringing me back.
Yeah, just pushed heavily into I'm going to take 10,000 shots every day or whatever your agreement was. My agreement was I'm going to hide, but I'm also going to prove to you I don't need basketball to be in front of people and be seen.
Same wounding.
And all of that.
But
I just went in a different direction.
Two very different false self creatures.
Yeah.
And I think you're right 100%. It's either I'll show you, that's proving, or I didn't want to play anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hiding behind, I don't care. It's hurting, but I don't care. I didn't care.
Yeah.
And so both of those things I think are a great summary of, which way this thing can fall. And it goes that way in multiple different. So I didn't want to be a singer. I didn't care.
Right.
I wanted to sing.
Yeah.
I was
that's
fine.
The direction
I'm telling you,
went
literally
after basketball.
And I was fine until my voice changed. Was a soprano in the honor boys choir.
Yeah.
But something happened. Maybe took a ball to the throat or something. I don't know. But anyway, and it was over. I mean, that just ended. So I think I
didn't want to play basketball.
This is really tricky.
Theater, choir, all state, all New England, all nation. I'm telling you, man.
And the guys
pushed into that hard.
So and the guys who are in the fraternity of playing, they look at those things, and you have to do some kind of comparison. Well, that's what you do if you can't do this.
Yeah, and
and on the other side as well,
that's what you do if you can't do this. You jock.
So
So
stereotypically,
oh my gosh,
stereotypically wild.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I think about all from American Idol and The Voice and just all the things that reinforce, that say and that reinforce your value and your worth is based on your performance. And that's where I go back to. I did not get well or healed up from that, even in circles of church and ministry, vocationally even, until I was almost 40. That virus like allergies, people who have seasonal allergies, I mean, that is just one of those ongoing, but we get so used to it, and the world is so normalized about it that the gospel just kind of sounds. This is where we talk about personal theology and biblical theology a lot.
Yeah.
This is a big good place to just jump in and say the personal theology is your personal internal belief system that has been shaped and formed through the personal experiences that you've had over your lifetime, particularly in formative years. And we just described a lot of them.
Pause right now, back it up, listen to what he just said again. Because it's really good.
So
it's really good. It's important.
And that theology, that belief system, I'm going to say something that could get us in trouble, but is, in comparison to biblical theology, the personal theology is more powerful.
No question.
That operating system.
It's closer to you.
That is why, and I'm going to give you my one rationale, that is why people who are in professional Christian work, pastors, worship leaders, the people who have the degrees, the people who have the knowledge, the people who have doctor in front of their name of theology, they know more biblical theology, right, than the most of us. That's why we go to their churches. We trust them to do the studying, the preparation, and they'll, you do the grocery shopping and then you bring us the dish from Ephesians or John or whatever. So, but we watch those professional Christians go down in flames
over and over
again, right? And it's not for a lack of biblical knowledge. I know this is there's way more to this, but this is just it's their personal belief system.
It gets rooted in you way earlier. And I don't care if you got drugged to church or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The way I was learned to prove that I was worthy of love and
right.
people wanted to have me around, I learned when I was about 7 years old. If I can help you, I have worth. And that's not what the Bible says about me.
No. And you can memorize the verses.
Yeah, that's first SJ,
you can memorize all the verses, but it does not overcome the experiential reality. That's why we are such proponents on experiencing the love of God. How did he show you? How did he tell you? Not just in theology, but in practical experience. And
absolutely.
When you start experiencing the love of God, and it starts to rival.
It starts to jack with your system.
It starts to rival this system because it's actually trying to break it down so that it can build up a new personal theology, that now your biblical theology and your personal theology becomes something that's not rivaling, but is literally a harmony.
And your personal theology is rooted in what God says about you. All of us, generally, but you specifically. Yeah. That's when we get into what is your glory.
Yeah.
What is, as Gary Barklow would say, what's the vein of gold?
Yeah,
that's in there ready, waiting to be discovered.
So when you have something to hide, prove, and fear, you're actually using your talents and skills and abilities to try to get from people.
It's a tainted
affirmation,
version
validation, acceptance, and worth, those things of love. So, so this came to me just as you were talking about back to basketball and sports. Junior year in college, I was starting playing, and I lost my position. I lost it. And I look back, SJ, and it was like I was so good at being on the B team and chasing.
Like Seabiscuit.
Like
Seabiscuit.
Yes, and had to really learn how to calm down and stop chasing and actually be settled in now the position that I'm in. And because I was so trained in proving that when I was finally on the top of the mountain, my feet didn't work. I couldn't kick anybody. Couldn't kick anybody down.
Yeah.
I was always
climbing up.
So anyway, that was, and there was always another hill to climb, and you kind of get into that athletic theology. While you're resting, there's somebody out there who's putting in extra effort, and you may meet them one day. Well, okay. Get you up in the morning, running more, lifting more. So my junior year, I told you this story once, I think, where it was falling apart. And I end up in the gym late night because I had access. It was an AM. It was 1 a.m. And I'm just hitting shot after shot after shot. And it's making me more and more and more angry and more upset to where I collapse. Talk about Rory. I collapse, and I'm just emotionally so upset that what I'm doing here isn't translating there. And I say, and this was one of my first experiences of hearing God before I knew it could be normal. But I just in tears, just crying, and I think I got out the words, I love this game so much. And the next thought I have was, but it doesn't love you back.
Right.
And I came up as if somebody was in the gym and heard me.
Yeah.
Who said that? And I knew. I mean, it was all just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I knew immediately. And again, with my old paradigm, it didn't feel punitive. It didn't feel like, yeah, but it doesn't love you back, does it?
Yeah.
You've given your life, you've wasted your life.
Right.
No, it was a comforting voice and a comforting presence. And, I was probably 20-ish. But that, I don't think I misinterpreted that moment, but I didn't have a category or space for that. That was more exceptional. That was more, it was relieving for sure.
And very centered on the moment.
Yeah.
Versus
in the crisis,
in the context of your whole story.
Right.
Yeah.
But later, I took some of that same effort that life required and the upkeep that effort requires to be in a position to be admired or supported or given money to your mission and finances. I took all of that personal theology right into this lane of ministry until I was burning out at 38. And that's when the real rescue from a life of proving, the dismantling of that, it wasn't a lightning strike. It was a restoration project, not a big wrecking ball. I mean, he was taking boards. He was
pulling the nails.
He was pulling the nails and
then,
board after board.
Yeah.
And that's when this thing finally, started to, and other voices and other teachers began to really break through. Particularly as we've talked about Graham Cook's definition for grace. What if grace isn't merit or unmerited or undeserving or deserving? What if it isn't any of that?
Yeah.
That's why I'm so passionate about that definition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What if grace is the powerful, right? What if grace is the empowering presence of God and the empowering presence of God in you to actually transform you
into what
into who you are in the kingdom, into who he's made you to be.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
wait a minute. I mean, I had to run that one through. Talk about rewind a few times. I had to run that one through because that was a real remedy and a real ointment, something that here was my response. I remember, if that's true, this changes everything.
Yeah.
And I've said that 3 or 4 times in the dismantling of my
Sure.
false self, in the assembly of me. I've said that a few times, and that was one of them.
What we've been told is that grace is unmerited favor.
Right.
Which means somehow there's a meritocracy system.
Right.
And so no matter how, comes with this, we've talked about it before, it comes with this flavor of like, Yeah, you're trying really hard. I know.
What you deserve is
but
a slap, a spank,
right. 2x4.
I mean, all of that. So that's if that's not grace, personal theology, even what was taught, from some pulpits or spaces. Anyway, I think that's where. What if I don't have to prove to him that I'm worthy of him dying for me? What if I don't have to prove to him that I'm good enough?
So exhausting,
to be even, a scrap at, just if I can just get in the room of the ball of the dance, if I can just somehow, I'll take a D-, just somehow be eligible.
Yeah.
And that, when the Father started saying things like, no, that's not me. That's not it's not true. When I started hearing in my prayer life, thought life, meditation, even, seeing some of the wounding things in my life that were actually creating these powerful places of compromise, and he was showing me that I want to help you out of that. I want to help you out of that. I want to reconstruct. It was game on. It was holy cow.
Yeah, man.
So much so, I was going to save this one for you at the end, and we're getting at the end. So I got a request from somebody from Baltimore that I was dialoguing with a little bit in the text, and they wanted some books. They'd gotten a book, but they wanted some books. And he'd mentioned this on the text. And I said, well, I know a guy. I'll send you some. He said, no, I'll buy it. I'm glad to buy it. I'll go to. He's texting. I'll go to Amazon and buy it. He said, just shoot me a link. So I have to go to Amazon, which I have not been, at the author's page,
where the reviews are.
Where the reviews are. And it's right there, man. 770 some. I just glanced.
Yeah.
And I could tell you how many it was, 777 and 5-star. And I'm like, get out of there.
Read them.
Get out of there, man. Get out of there.
No, don't read them. Don't read the comment sections. Don't do it. But it's right there.
You read way more impact sheets than I do.
Yeah.
And I know we're both on stage and we're both sharing and and I love the impact sheets. But I also love hearing, instead of what these men have written about us, I love hearing what the Father wants to tell us about. And I know when we missed a mark or missed a cue or missed a moment, or that one wasn't as maybe as it didn't work as well maybe as the other one, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've just been trained to as a one on the Enneagram and a self-critic and all that I've been trained to. I can evaluate with the worst of them. My own performance, my own value and worth, and that is, I feel the gravitational pull even still, even though I've been delivered, and I will say delivered from some of the demons that operated that machinery even within me, and they still come calling.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that's not in you, but it wants to be. Yeah, I will tell you, having been doing this a little while now, the impact sheets really speak. The ones that are there's very, very, very few that are critical in any way. But occasionally there's one or two. There's a few more, but even not as many, that single a guy out and say, I really liked what
Josh
said
right.
or Michael said, or Tom. The vast majority they do what we ask them to do. What did God do this weekend? Yeah. That's what the impact sheets, and it's great to read, man.
Yep. No, we'll have to read maybe in the last episode. I think that'd be a great place to end.
Yeah.
And a great place to begin with.
Guys overcoming.
Yeah, a few of those stories. And, it is, if there's a fear of man, then there's a proving to men. And if you can get those report cards not just back, but absolutely eliminated, and that you could work from a place of acceptance rather than to a place of getting accepted, that's the kind of trick we're talking about that we found it's available. Mm-hmm. That I go back to this scene in The Little Princess when she is now in the attic, and the headmistress is really laying it on Sarah Crew that you still fancy yourself a princess?
Yeah. Yeah, and the cinematography that's making her taller than Sarah. Yeah.
Good God, child, look around you.
Look around. Look at your clothes.
I mean, it's such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
Do you hear what I'm saying? She says. And then Sarah Crew, the little princess, says, yeah, but I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's really the hinge of all of this. That's the door that, I think this larger gospel has afforded us to go through and discover we can be the little princes.
Yeah.
And we can be, Didn't your dad ever tell you that?
Right.
That you are a prince?
Lie only has power.
That you are a son? That you are, but if the father hasn't had room or space or I would even say opportunity or invitation to tell you, that'd be a great place to go.
Oh man, he wants you to move towards healing, to get that stuff out of the way, so you can hear him bestow those ingredients of love on you.
Yeah,
that's what he wants.
Yeah, he does. It's what our kids want from us as dads. It's what our spouses want. It's what we want. So it's a chance to be, playing on God's team, not for his acceptance, love, and approval, but because we have it.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to go. So, next time, fear.
It's hard not to drop a pun.
I know, man.
Yeah,
but
I'm afraid of recording that one.
A couple impact sheets and hopefully some encouragement of where to go.
I think one of the things that's been interesting, and we'll get into it in the next episode, is just that you put the hide, prove, and fear up on the board, and you asked which one of these has been central for you and prominent in your story, and just not even thinking about my own story in the moment, I was like, I think it's all based on fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because he's got a couple, isolation, fear, right? Diminishment. The enemy has some tools guilt, that he uses, but fear is a big one.
Yeah.
And
if
he can get you to operate out of fear, then he just kind of kicks back.
No, I think you're right. I think it's the big cog.
Yeah. Right.
And
the big gear with the other.
These other two have a prominent place. There's guys that have been trained to hide, and other guys been trained to prove, but they're all connected. So. Mm-hmm. Thank you for being with us in this conversation of the Exploring More podcast. And again, The Remedy, maybe Heart of a Warrior, maybe King Me. I mean, these Search and Rescue, these are books that we put these resources together from our own experiences to try to help and maybe encourage others on their journey and their experiences. So maybe one of those, Amazon. Maybe one of those will find
YouVersion Bible app. Search Zoe and devotional plans.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of plans on there.
Great.
We got a bunch of free resources on ZoeOutpost.com too. So
thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on the Exploring More podcast.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoe.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoe on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoe on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.